And when you talk to quahauggers, they still, for the most part, make this continue to make this distinction. But it's kind of odd how it works. So, as Mike just did, Mike McGivney, president of the Rhode Island Shellfishermen's Association, you should know better. You'll hear guys use clam to refer to quahaugs, usually ironically, or when it's unambiguous that they're talking about quahaugs. So if a guy comes in and comes into shore after digging all day, and he has his catch, and his buddy on the shore says, "How'd you do today?" And he says, "The clams weren't biting." And he knows he's not talking about steamers because the quahaugs are right there. So I've heard it used in that way.
What about architecturally?
Architecturally?
Yeah.
How do you mean?
The domiciles of the diggers.
You mean, do they refer to their...
In Whitford, they were always known as clam diggers' shacks.
Oh, right. Well, one of the old-timers I talked to, this guy is 81 now, he actually referred to this. He said, if you had called me a clam digger back then, I would have flattened you. Right? I was a bull raker, right? So what's interesting is something I have never heard, and maybe you guys, I'm glad you guys are here, kind of, because you never hear, or I've never heard, the verb form used interchangeably. So participle or gerund, clamming, right? If a guy says, I'm going clamming today, he's going for steamers. Panel of experts? So you'll hear a guy say things like, you ask him, well, what'd you get up to this summer? I got up to lobster and I got to quahogging. I did some clamming. And so you understand what happened. Okay. Now where the hell were we? All right.
We're going to hear from the expert.
Right. Quahaugs, right? Okay. I did hear from an expert, and this is something I wanted to say, yeah. So let me do the true etymology of quahog. A lot of you know this already, I'm sure. But this is straight out of the Roger Williams. There are two experts on this, I suppose. Quahaugs. That's the word, right? That's the Narragansett word. Everybody get it? Quahaugs? I think that awk, that is the same as the AUG. It's just voiced or unvoiced at the end. So Appanog, Quahog, Sickaswag. It's all. I think that's the clan, but I haven't found out what the actual parts of the word are. So here's what Roger Williams says about the quahog. This the English call hens. Now already he's wrong, okay? Because hen clams. What are hen clams?
Surf clams.
Surf clams. We don't use hen to refer to surf clam to quahogs anymore, but the English swine used to. I just came up with that one on the fly.
What is a surf clam?
It's like kind of a classic looking clam.
That you get on the beaches.
It's way bigger.
They use it for ashtray.
That's why they call them hens. So this the English call hens, a little thick shellfish which the Indians wade deep and dive for. Deep water is important. And after they have eaten their meal, in those which are good, I don't know what that means, but they break out of the shell about half an inch of a black part of it, of which they make their suckahawk, or black money. And that's something, Dale's, have you been working on this? So that's the wampum, that's the black wampum. Right? Wampum is not the proper word for the purple wampum. Wampum is for the white, and it's suckahawk, technically speaking, for the purple. And that plays into the scientific name of quahog, which is Mercenaria mercenaria, as we all know. Why? Mercenaries, yeah. Which was given to the quahog by no less than Linnaeus himself. All right? It's a big deal.
What part is the wampum? Is
It's the purple.
inside of the shell? Like
We don't know what it is yet? No. We don't know why it's there. I say we, meaning Dale. All right, so the other authority I have on this is Ella Secatol. Do we know Ella Secatol? Yeah. She was a long-time medicine woman of the Narragansetts. fierce. She is an imposing woman. Really impressive. And I saw her give us a talk. This was a general talk on the Narragansetts. And she was explaining why the Narragansetts were physically superior to the white settlers. This is classic Ella Secretary. She was saying that the reason the Narragansetts were bigger and stronger and healthier than the English swine was because...
You mean the American colonists?
Yes.
When you say well, why don't you...
All right. I went to the well too many times.
You could use American...
By Northern Ireland, it's fine. All right, so her argument was that the Narragansetts had a much broader diet than the American settlers, including shellfish. And at that point, she paused to say, and it's quahog, not quahog. Drives me crazy every time I hear that. So, watch out. Now, yes, there is the fifth pronunciation, quahog, right? That is deep. That's like when you're talking like old-timey bullraker, what have you. That's quahog. So there's a story about this guy, Captain Billy Benoit, very well-known guy out on the bay in the shellfishing community. He used to pilot this big bi-boat called the Beacon. And one day these guys were working the transplant. I'll explain this later. But the DEM enforcement agents were out there, and one of them was talking to Captain Bill. And they're talking and talking, and finally the DEM guy has had enough. He says, Captain Bill, quahog has 2 syllables. We don't know if Captain Bill really understood what he was saying, but he had too much of that. So, let me say one more thing about the quahog, and it's about eating them. This is important because one of my buddies here tonight is skipping out on clam cakes and chowder to be here for me. Now I want to give you, let me ask you this. Growing up, this is what I think is important. As a child, what did you eat, right, in terms of quahaugs? Chowder?
Yeah.
Clam cakes?
Yeah.
Stuffies?
Yeah.
Fish and chips?
You guys call them gray clams.
Could be.
Clams casino.
They look like
Clams
mussels
casino.
to me, actually.
Yeah, they're sort of. Not at all. But, all right.
Linguine.
Linguine. Raw on the half shell.
Yeah.
As a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are rare. It's not often you hear that. All right.
Little necks.
Let's get back to Melville for a moment. This is your idea, Christina. What do you think? Stubb. Stubb kills a whale. He's second mate on the Pequod. They kill a whale. They cut it all up. They process it. They get the oil out of it. And Stubb takes a steak out of the whale and has the cook do it up for him. Now here's a really, this disturbed Melville, because Stubb was eating the steak by the light of a lamp burning whale oil, right? That mortal man should feed upon the creature that feeds his lamp, and, like Stubb, eat him by his own light, as you may say. This seems so outlandish a thing that one must needs go a little into the history and philosophy of it. I mean, this is, in Melville's view, there's something terrible being done here, and he needs to contend with it. Well, what do you think you're doing when you eat a quahog in the half shell? What's your plate? Right? I mean, you don't scoop those things off and like throw them in a bowl, which you could do. You make a plate out of their own body. Right?
Thumbs up, Brad. I'll give you that
Stuffies. Let's do that one too. Melville talks about how when they're doing the try works and they're melting the blubber into the oil, they fuel it. They start the fire with wood chips, and then they fuel it with crispy little bits of blubber. Like a plethoric burning martyr or a self-consuming misanthrope, once ignited, the whale supplies his own fuel and burns by his own body. Stuffies, right? You take the clamshell, you take out the meat, grind it up, make a stuffing out of it, stick it back in the shell, put it in the oven, and you have made your you have made your pan out of the quahaug's own body.
Are you cooking it with like quahog power?
Maybe. Depends. So that's the quahog. And if you want to look at the, I should say something about the pamphlet because I had it made up. The quahaugs that we have on here, the one on the right, so that's taken from an interesting little book, a little pamphlet that was given to me by a guy named Don Wilcox. And he got it from a guy named George Fecta. Those names are, hopefully we'll get to this story later on. There's a really interesting story between those two guys. But this pamphlet was really neat. It was made in '69, and I've only given you the back cover. The inside of the pamphlet was several pages on which the anatomy of the clam was printed so that it went from the shell to the outer mantle, intermantle, the guts, the skin, so the whole thing. And the idea was you would cut out around the shells here, and then you would cut out all the other little parts, and then you would fold it over on the hinge, and then you would have the quahog anatomy in a little flip book. It's the kind of thing that they did in order to encourage the industry. The other shell, the other quahog, now this is the Moby Dick of quahaugs, okay? Those two stripes there. Homozygous recessive notata. There's a couple markings that a quahog's, the three basically that a quahog can have. Is it the heterozygous recessive? What is the other one? Is that homozygous? Dominant. Okay. So there's a marking on the shell that's kind of like stripes in the other direction. And then there's this two-stripe mark, and that's the rarest. It's the double, it's the recessive. So this marking was very, very rare many years ago. You would almost never see this in 40 years of digging. However, it has become much more numerous because of a project that's going on, put on by Rhode Island Shellfishermen's Association in Warwick Cove. They're doing a seeding project. They're growing little baby quahaugs up from seed in these vats, these upwellers they call them. And the kind of quahaugs that they've been using are these notata with these markings, these quahaugs that are quite rare. The idea is that when they plant the seed, if they see lots of these notata coming in, a greater percentage than would occur in nature, then they know that the seeding is working. So, there it is, the Moby Dick of quahaugs, right there. Let's move on to the clampoon. I've brought clampoons here today.
I got one, Red.
Yes, thank you. Oh, Jesus. So this is the rake. There are a lot of different ways you can get at the quahog, but the one I'm going to focus on tonight is the clampoon, the bull rake. There is a Melville tie-in. All right, now you remember that oath we all swore that we would be infidel sharks? All right, this is your opportunity.